All right, there you go. I can hear you. Well,
I'm so sorry about the delay.
that's okay, man. That's a clean web shot cam you got there. What's going on?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, after the last year, I think I tried to resist for as long as possible. I was just using the cell phone, and
Uh
then finally I said, well, if all I ever do is sit in this room and talk about myself, I might as well upgrade and get a nice setup going. So this is, you know, what I got.
huh. Very cool. I don't know if it's the lights in the background or maybe you're like me and your eyes just get bluer when you're hungover. I don't know why that is, but
I think it's probably a combination of the blue light and maybe allergies. Who knows?
right on. Andy Black, and I don't, dude, you've had so many different names over the span of the career, starting off as Andy Six, and we'll get to that. But I first want to start off by congratulating you on the success of Scarlet Cross with Black Veil Brides, man. I know it's been a long time coming. You've been trying to, climb this hill and building up this underground following for so many years. The first time we met was at Epicenter or Aftershock. It wasn't Aftershock. I think it was Epicenter on the tarmac at 118 degrees out in San Bernardino. It was miserable. If you
Yes.
recall that.
Oh, yeah. I have memories of that day. They're spotty, but I do have memories of
Oh,
that day.
God, it was brutal, man. And the Netflix series, Paradise City. Now, I know there were a couple of hiccups when the series first started. Tell me exactly what happened because it was like out on Netflix and then gone for a week and then back out. What's the inside scoop?
Yeah, so it's an independently made series, and it's available on a lot of streaming platforms. But the key one that kind of was the spearhead was Amazon Prime, and there was a copyright issue that was filed with some moment of a song in the background that I believe Amazon had not done the due diligence for, or something like that. I'm just an actor in it, so I don't know I don't know
Yeah.
the specifics, but it was something that was very like minute and the most basic little thing that it was a box that hadn't been checked, and so it got done quickly. And again, it's one of those things when you are part of something that is truly this independent production. Ash Alvidson, and Sumerian Records, they wrote, directed, he funded this thing. Like this is outside the big Hollywood studio system. This is making a rock and roll show with rock and roll people.
Mhm.
And you don't want to be conspiratorial, but when something like that is succeeding to the level it is, and it's outside the system, so to speak, you always wonder if they're if they're out to get you. But it's doing really well, and people dig it, and it's just I think it's a real triumph for everybody involved, and I'm just so proud I got to be a part of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's super cool. You were raised in Ohio and went to a Catholic school. What did your folks think about your love for rock and heavy metal growing up? Were they a little freaked out by that, or were they very supportive and said, "Hey, man, if that's what he digs, let him dig it"?
No, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I got all of that really from my dad. When I was a little kid, my dad's got full sleeve tattoos, and when I was a little
Wow.
kid, he would take me to concerts and introduce me to Kiss and Aerosmith and Motley Crue and Wasp and all of that when I was 3 years old. So
Hmm.
I was raised on that stuff, and so the school thing almost was like the outlier compared to growing up. My mom was really into music. She was more so on the kind of Bruce Springsteen kind of side singer songwriter type stuff, and which was also really important to me because it taught me a lot about songwriting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was listening to AC/DC and Kiss and Aerosmith and all of that as a real little kid, and that's kind of where I cut my teeth in music.
So, what in the world did your dad do to get you access to all these great shows? Was he just a fan, or did he work in the industry?
Just a fan. He
Okay.
played in bands before I was born and a little bit when I was a little kid, and
Hmm.
just always had a passion for rock music. And it's kind of funny how it really started for me was when I was like 3. He had his old 77 Kiss trading cards in like a box in the basement.
Hmm.
And like every little kid, I was into superheroes and all that kind of stuff. And so I remember discovering those Kiss trading cards one day and being like, "What is this? Like, what are these guys?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, here's the music," and I love the music right away. And then I just dove deep into all of it. And every day when I came home from grade school, I had these Kiss VHS tapes. I'd watch them front to back. I'd have my dad. He would so cool. He would let me put on Gene Simmons makeup and like do my own concerts in the house after school every day. And like it was just a huge part of my life. And he's the one who introduced me to all the classic rock bands, all the punk rock bands, and grew up listening to rock radio in Cincinnati. And it's been a huge part of my identity as a person since I was, since I have any memories, really.
Wow, that's unbelievable, man. So, okay, coming from this kind of musical background, I know you play some piano. What other instruments do you use, especially when it comes to writing music?
I mean, a lot of times I get a lot of credit for things that I'm not any good at, and that would be an example. I am not a good pianist. I'm not a good guitar player. I always say that I am, particularly with guitar. The thing that I probably did the most with when I was a kid was bass because of
Hmm.
Gene Simmons and Nikki Sixx and all these guys. I wanted to be like. But
Yeah.
as far as guitar, I taught myself pretend chords as a kid
Okay.
that were just songwriting chords. So like I could build a song in some way. And so actually, there's a song Mortician's Daughter on her first record that is not played. The version that I played when I wrote the song is not how you would play that song at all. So we used to on in like 2014, I used to grab Jake's guitar and play that song, and everyone would just laugh at me because what I was playing was not at all the correct way to play it. But yeah, I just kind of wing it when it comes to that stuff. I wish I was a better musician because it would help with writing, but I kind of got really lucky where and when you get lucky you get a little lazy, right? I got Jake and Jinx who are virtuosos. When I was a teenager, I met them and they're better at all those things than I could ever be. So when it comes to songwriting, all I got to do is have an idea and they're already going to do it better than I could.
Yeah, dude, you've got some of the biggest balls of any person I know, having made the jump from Cincinnati to Los Angeles. And when we first met, it was like, man, I've already conquered the world. I'm already a rock god. You've just always projected this, man. Take me back to that. Like, what kind of support or foundation did you have moving from Cincinnati, Ohio, to the city of dreams and angels and myths and legends and lores in Los Angeles? Did you have a place to land, or were you just like, here's a bus trip out, like getting off the bus in the Welcome to the Jungle video?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's a little bit of both. First of all, my parents were very supportive of me doing it. They wanted, like, of course, any parents would, they wanted me to finish high school. That was a place that we disagreed. I felt like the school system had taken me everywhere that it could, and I was just ready to rock. At that point, I was already touring regionally, playing in basements and doing show swaps and stuff in the
Cool.
Midwest. So I felt like it was time to go. In retrospect, I wish I had finished so I'd have at least a GED or something because at this point I'm entirely uneducated. But when it came to that, that was kind of the place we disagreed. But as far as me doing this for a career, I had been telling them since I was old enough to speak, I'm going to go do that. And so there was kind of a lot of preparing, I guess. I, like many people, got lucky, and I met a girl who had a place to stay, and I was able to get enough money to get a flight. I came out here right after my 18th birthday. The girl and I were together for a little while, then it didn't work out, so I started bouncing around. I ultimately ended up sleeping in my car for a while in the
Wow.
Kmart parking lot in North Hollywood. That was where I lived for some time, and eating only old taquitos that they were about to throw out at 7-Eleven because I didn't have any money. And,
Mm.
just really, but it was just about the dream. I never thought in those days that anything was ever wrong. I never thought like, oh, it's crazy that I'm a literal teenager who is sleeping in my car and dirt poor. And
Yeah.
anytime my parents would ask, I would always lie and say it was going great and I had all these leads and a great place to live. And, I even went so far as to I would email them and pretend to be record labels so they wouldn't worry about me. I'd go, hey, we're gonna sign Andy. It's gonna be great. And because if my parents are very supportive, but if they knew that I was literally living in the back of an '86 Cadillac, eating taquitos, they probably wouldn't have been thrilled about it, but or wanted me out here. So I just thought it's gonna work. I've got to make it work, and I'm not gonna stop until it does. And there were plenty of roadblocks. We
Yeah.
had people that it was very hard for us to get shows. We had to play in parking lots because the venues around here wouldn't book us, and it was just about believing in what we were doing.
Yeah, and I've spent many nights living in a 1984 Honda Accord. Thank God for the hatchback. Place
Yeah,
to lay down. I'm sure the Cadillac was very comfortable too, because that's almost like driving a couch around, right?
it was. Yeah, the seat went all the way back. It was.
Yeah.
If you're gonna sleep in an old car, that's the one to do it.
Hey, so what was the most unexpected thing that happened once you got out to LA? Did you have any misconceptions about LA when you got there? You went, oh, wow, okay, it's really like this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many of the cliches that I didn't really get to see until we started getting success, and that's
Mhm.
when the kind of the darker side of like the sycophants and the people who don't want good things for you and the people that kind of glob on to people who have any kind of success and want to kind of lead them astray. That's when that stuff started. When I first got out here, it could have been anywhere. The only difference was that there was people who were interested in the same type of stuff as me more readily available. I could meet people who were into the bands I liked and who wanted to do this professionally and were really committed. And so that was the big distinction. But like, again, when you're sleeping in your car and you got no money and it's not like, oh my God, I'm in La La Land. It's like, I'm just here and I'm just trying to make it work. And the people that I need to talk to about this are here. But I've never, I've lived here my whole adult life, but I've never really been, I guess I just always consider myself a Ohioan or Midwesterner at heart. I don't. I've never really. I enjoy being here. My best friends are here, but I don't know that I've ever really fully been like. It's sort of funny to say, but I don't. I've lived here my whole adult life, but I've never thought of myself as being from LA, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you had to choose between acting and music, now that the whole Paradise City thing is here, where one demanded more time than the other, and you had to give up one thing, what do you think you would give up at this point?
I mean, look, for me, music has always been the thing that drives my life. It's the thing that I have the most passion for. I only get to act in things because of the fact that my band has succeeded to the point where people would at least give me that opportunity, or because of music in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's my greatest passion. But that's not to say that I don't really enjoy the acting side. I've really loved doing it, and I hope I get more opportunities to do it. But at the end of the day, I'm a musician before everything else.
Yeah, yeah, that's your bread and butter. You've had some big stage injuries too over the course of a career. Have you had to alter or temper your stage antics a little bit just to avoid any further injury?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got to. If I used to just jump off of everything all the time, that was like my move. I just climb as high as possible and then jump it down wherever. And I don't do that anymore.
Right. You're going to need a new hip at 40, Andy. Stop it.
I have really. It sounds funny to say, and it's totally not rock and roll, but I have really bad nerve damage in my back and in my sciatica, and I have all kinds of. I had to do physical therapy for about a year and a half because I lost a lot of feeling in my right leg from I broke all my ribs on one side and I never dealt with it. So I just went on tour, and my way of dealing with stuff, like a lot of rock and roll guys, was I would just drink until it didn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
And so I've really one of the things coming back now that I'm really excited about is going back on tour, because I try to be much more healthy now. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I work out every day. I'm excited to be able to go on stage and give it my all and not be like dragging my sad bones around the stage.
Wow. Congratulations on the knocking smoking cigarettes, dude. That's a tough addiction to get over. I was smoking about a pack and a half a day at the age of 16. And my grandmother always told me, hey, there's a pack of Marlboro Light 100s up in the freezer. Grab one whenever you want. That's a tough habit to break. A question for you. What do you, what we see in Paradise City as a series, how much of that do you think closely follows real life as a rock star, and how much of it is just blown up for screen purposes?
Well, I mean, anything that you're putting on TV has to be dramatized or made more interesting for the narrative. But I've said this before. It's a show that was written by a rock and roll person. Mash Alvinson is a musician. He's a record label owner. He was booking agent. He's worked in the rock industry since he was literally a teenager as well. Mm-hmm. So as far as understanding this, a lot of times you see these rock and roll shows that are written by people who have only ever kind of guessed at what rock is like or what this world is like. Mm-hmm. And for us as musicians, we watch it and go, okay, well, that's not how it goes. And so one of the things that I find the most refreshing, and I hear this from a lot of, people that are in our scene or people that I speak to, is that while certainly this is blown up to be able to show the dramatic nature of it, the nuts and bolts of what this is are all based in fact and how things really are, whether it's the relationship between a manager and an artist, the manager and the label, the producers to the label, all those things are pretty accurately represented. And I think it's a good, if you really wanted to watch our life, most days would be pretty boring. It's a lot of emails and phone calls and figuring out when to do this or that. But if you're trying to see it in a way that is fun to watch and really blown up for the screen, I think it's a great representation.
So how many years are you away from actually living and owning the house that you live in the series? Because that's a beautiful place.
Yeah, right. Who knows? With honestly, with the way LA is, I don't know that that's even a possibility at this point. It seems like all those big houses are mostly just filming locations. I think
Yeah.
somebody does live in that house, but to my knowledge, it was advertised like they just filmed stuff there. I watched something else that I was like, hey, I think that's my house, and then you look around. The funniest thing was where we were filming was directly across from the house where they filmed that show Bosch, and I was like, oh, there's that house. Like all the houses up there
Yeah.
are all filming locations.
Wow, what a trip, man. Okay, one last question for you. I know you got a lot of these things, so I'll let you go, man. If you could go out on tour with any band today, what would it be, or who would they be, and why?
Well, I've really one thing that we have had a really great relationship with him, and he's been really complimentary of the band over the years, but we've never been able to tour. Is Alice Cooper? I'd love to tour with Alice. He's been a huge champion of Black Veil for a lot of years, and I would just love to be able to see that show every night from the perspective of being on the tour and to be able to play in front of his audience. I think it would be a really good show.
I think that'd be a heck of a pairing. His bass player, Chuck Garrett, actually lives here in the neighborhood. And Alice Cooper. Alice is just the sweetest, nicest guy. If you're going to have
The
somebody
best.
on your side as far as a career mentor, he'd certainly be in my top five for sure.
Absolutely.
Andy Black, Black Veil Brides, congratulations again on everything. Digging the series Paradise City. Hope to get to catch you out on a stage somewhere soon, man. Now that the live shows are returning.
We can't wait. Hope to see you soon.
All right, brother. Thanks for the time today, man.
Thanks, man. Talk to you later.
All right, peace.